Welcome to Achieve Wealth through value-add real estate investing. This is the show where the guru hype is banned and you get direct insights from commercial real estate operators. If you're a passive investor, this show can help you better understand investment opportunities. And if you're an active investor, the lessons from each episode can help you to become more effective in your own deals. Now, here's your host, investor and author, James Kandasamy.
Hi, audience and listeners. This is James Kandasamy from Achieve Wealth through Value at Real Estate Investing podcast. Today, we have a special session with Rama Krishna from Zovest Company from California. Hey, Rama, you want to say hi to our audience and listeners?
Yeah, hi, James. Thank you for inviting me on this special session. Definitely I want to, the primary reason is we are attending so many webinars on this COVID-19 impact for multifamily, and a lot of other groups that we're discussing. I wanted to just compile all the strategies that I've kind of compiled, and also mine as well, like what I'm actually going through right now with my properties, compiled into a blog post. And we wanted to talk about it today.
Yeah. Today is a special session. So I'm trying to make all this podcast release. I'm actually rearranging all my podcast releases to make it really timely. So all of you guys listeners can really take action from, whatever you're listening from this podcast, rather than listening to podcasts that was recorded 1 or 2 months ago, which is like, super boring, right? Because all that is pre-corona, right? I'm sure all of you guys are wondering, what is this guy talking about 3% rent growth at that time, right? So this is timely. We're going to release as soon as possible. So Rama has done a really good job compiling 50 strategies for multifamily operators and asset managers to tackle COVID-19. And we're going to go through each one of those in quickly and also in detail, so that each one of you can take a pencil and a paper and write down what are some of the things that you can use right now. So Rama, let's get started. So what's the first one?
I think before even getting there, right? So
okay.
The primary thing, what we need to kind of do here is, the people lost jobs, in the sense like we need to be compassionate about what the things are going. I think we are actually suffering as operators. We also have to put ourselves in the tenant's shoes, and they got impacted, right? So some of these strategies, to also have to work with them to see how they can weather the storm, including us has to weather the storm here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And another things is, there are federal regulations right now that we cannot evict tenants, right? So in the sense, even though, we can do some of these things, that the strategies what we have before, we cannot do it because of the regulations in place and also shelter in place right now. So the first primary thing what we wanted to do to alleviate the problems of tenants is the late fee waiver, right? So we actually wanted to not to communicate this thing until the 5th, but we did communicate and before that itself. Just wanted to give some assurance to the tenants saying that we are not going to charge late fee for the month of April and May. That's the first strategy we want to do. And also, if they cannot, if they're impacted, the primary thing what we wanted to know to James, is when you're working with the tenant that they have an issue, you want to get a proof from them that they got laid off from their job, and then put it into your resources, your folders, so that in case if you are applying for any other benefits in the future, an EADL program or a PPP program, or maybe a forbearance or forgiveness, you can have all these things kind of noted in your documentation. The second thing is, some of the tenants are not misusing this thing. Hey, there's a late fee waiver, there's a flexible payment plan, but if you're not impacted, you're not eligible for that, right? That's the reason, the second point, where we wanted to put them into a payment plan if they are impacted, and then then they can continue catching up these payments. The second thing again, and then typical guidelines to the tenants saying that they need to do the shelter in place and follow the state or CDC guidelines to make sure that they are protected. The last thing that you need is a COVID-19 patient in your properties, and then they're spreading out. They don't know what they're doing, and God forbid there's a death. So there's a lot of things that you need to do. So make sure, and also fundamentally, you want your tenants and everyone to be safe, and then follow the state guidelines. And what you have to do, or they have to do, somebody tested positive in your property, right? And
Okay.
how they can do self quarantine, and how you can help them also, right? And maybe there is one more point in here, is to you for us as an operators to disinfect the common areas. And especially, I think we'll come back to those points again in the later strategies, is to disinfect the common laundry, mailboxes, and other things, like leasing office and other things, right? The other thing from a financial standpoint was security deposits. A lot of there are, when we found out about this program called Say Rhino, or the other insurance programs, even not just for this one, later also the operators can use this strategy to actually use in lieu of security deposit. They can actually get into some of these insurance programs like Rhino, or like Nest Egg or Lemonade, where in this strategy, James, right, I think you might already know, let's say if the security deposit is $1,000, they need to pay $5 per month as an insurance, and they don't need to deposit this $1,000. So somebody coming in new as a tenant, so instead of paying first month's rent plus a security deposit, say $2,000, now they need to only pay $1,000 and an insurance program for $5 a month. If it is $2,000, it will be $10 a month. It covers both security deposits and also any damages that they do, or including they haven't officially confirmed, but when I talk to Rhino's representative, they're saying even wear and tear. Let's say if you want to do a make ready and there is a damage that you have under the unit, it covers that. So the way how it works is, right, so let's say the tenant vacates and you go and do the move out inspection, and you saw overall to make ready of this is $1,200, right? And you do a claim to Rhino, and then they pay you within 48 hours, and they collect from the tenant later on, because it's still a deposit, right? Like there's still there is a wear and tear, or like some damage happened to the unit.
So that is sayrhino.com, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
And there's a few other people as well, right?
Providers.
Okay, got it. So let me get a bit more structured here. So we are on the line item number 5, which is basically, the first one is look at late fee waiver. Second is look at payment plans for your residents who are impacted. Make sure they're impacted. Third one is make sure that you communicate communicate to residents to make sure they follow shelter in place and follow the state and CDC guidelines, right? Fourth is basically, if they are exposed to COVID-19 patients or tested positives, you want to do a self quarantine as well, right? And if you as a property manager knows about whether any residents has been impacted, usually a lot of property management software have given us access to additional field in the tenant information to mark them as COVID-19 quarantine and all that. So I do have it recently on my property management software. So check with your property management company, so they can mark it as someone who's impacted or quarantine, or what's the status, right? And the fifth one is basically using some of the security deposit for some of the 2 months rents, using some company like sayrhino.com, where you can use it as an insurance for evictions and if they evict out, or for any make ready, right? If
right. So if you already collected the security deposit, you can convert to a Say Rhino agreement.
Okay.
But unless the minimum is, at least they need to have 6 months more left in the lease, because at least either the new person coming in, or maybe like another 2 months are done in the.
But this program already existed, right? Before.
No, they have 700. Say Rhino has 700,000 units insured.
Okay, got it. So they already existed right now, so you can just use this for, at this stage, I guess, right? Use some of the current security deposit and convert it to this insurance program, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So sayrhino.com, NREIG Insurance, Core Home, Nest Egg, Lemonade, RamiKing.com. These are some of the providers, I guess, right?
Yes, there are some of the insurance providers in lieu of security deposits.
Okay, let's go to number 6.
Okay, so let's say from an operator perspective, you feel that there's one more point here that we can come back to this. I think I haven't ordered this in a right format, right numbering. The first thing before doing that is to primarily segregate or profile your tenants, right? Go each lease by lease and profile your tenants how exposed are they with this COVID-19 impacted businesses? Are they in restaurants? Are they in travel tourism industry or whatever it is, to see what would be the impact of it, right? Say, if you're 50% of your tenants are in medical profession, or maybe some other which are not really impacted into that. So at least you will know yourself, if you own 1,000 units, hey, I'm 50% of my tenants are restaurants, right? Maybe, right? Then you can actually really alert, and also go to these programs what we're talking about here. Talk to your Fannie Freddie lender and see if they have any mortgage forbearance or relief. Right now they already have it. Fannie and Freddie already rolled it out for 90 days. You can forbear your mortgage, not to pay that, and then have a payment plan of 12 months to catch up on this 90-day payment. But make sure that that there will be some negative remark or agency loan history, and to see, make sure you go through all the agreement before actually signing up. But yeah, if you're really impacted, definitely, if you're going underwater with not able to make mortgage payments, for sure you should consider this mortgage forbearance.
Okay, good. So let's go to the next one.
Yeah, and then so that is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the SBA disaster loans. There is a EIDL emergency,
I think it's called economic injury.
Economic injury disaster
loan.
Okay.
Yes,
EIDL. So that's the loan that SBA is giving up to $2 million for small businesses, including rental apartment owners. There is a 3.75% interest, and then there is some terms that you need to pay. The idea here is, based on your situation, you can actually apply for this disaster loan for EIDL program so that you can weather the storm for the next 3 to 6 months or 9 months. And there is another loan for a payroll protection program, PPP, which I can update this as well. So if you have a payroll that you're running by yourself, you can actually apply for this PPP program to get 2.5 months of payroll from the government. Or if your property manager company actually runs the payroll, you can ask them to apply for this PPP loan, so that they can not bill you for the next 3 months for the property management personnel.
Yeah, I think the caveat is anybody who's applying need to be having less than 500 employees, right?
Exactly. I think they figured out some more than 500, but overall, yeah, up to 500, yes. And then also, think from a tenant perspective. Some of these ones, like the 4 or 5 points here is, if they are actually having some hardships right now, how they can use some of these federal programs, right? And they're actually sending a $1,200 to $3,400 checks to every every person who actually filed the taxes, right? And also, they can apply, if they are a small business, they can apply a SBA loan, or they can apply a PPP loan, and they can weather the storm and actually use that money. And then if they get refunds, they can file the taxes immediately and use that money to pay rents, right? So some of these aspects that you can think on their shoes and see how these federal programs can help them as a tenant. Maybe one of your tenant is a restaurant owner, right? Then you can see how the federal programs can help them, so that they can file unemployment benefits, and then you can tell information about that. Or you can find local companies which are hiring, and then see if some of these tenants are actually want to find a job right now.
Yeah.
Then you can ask them to continue pay the rents.
Yeah, let me add some more things. So some of the apartment association in many big cities have given renters resources, which includes how to file unemployment, what are the resources for them to get different types of help from different organizations.
Right. Yeah. So again, two aspects of our operations, right? One is income, and one is expenses. Right now, we talked a lot of stuff from an income perspective, and some are expenses perspective, right? The other aspect, what I were kind of brought in is with all these people talking about is expenses. So any non-essential expenses, like even send email, like a message to all the tenants, memo to tenants saying that, if you have any emergency only, like create a service request. Non-emergency service request will be done after the once the things settle down, right? Now, if you have light bulb went away, you can fix it yourself, or you leave the light bulb at the doorstep, let them fix it, instead of you exposing your maintenance staff to more people. Either they can fix it themselves, or you can drop that light bulb there, or they can wait for few weeks until these things settle down, so that you can cut your non-essential expenses, kind of a controllable expenses that you can eliminate, and you can have to close all the amenities, pool, other common amenities, so that you can no need to kind of continue maintaining them.
I think also you do not want people to use that and spread the virus more, right? I guess.
Exactly. Those are shelter in place, not using common amenities. If they have like throw a party in a clubhouse, then you'll have 50 people infected there. So
correct.
And primary thing is the common amenities. You have laundry room. Everybody is coming in there to the laundry. How they can sanitize this thing, or maybe one person at a time, or have a roster. Hey, like this building, this 1 to 10 people using Monday 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Some roster, so that not everybody coming in Saturday morning to do the laundry, right? Or maybe some mailboxes. Say if somebody is there at the mailboxes, have some instructions. Say wait for them to leave, and then you go. Wait for a minute, and then you can go and pick up your mail, right? Some of this stuff that you can instructions at the mailing and all any common areas, right? And another thing is aspect of an income perspective is primarily focused on the leasing aspect, right? What are the, can you put some deals on renewals or lease modifications, or if you already gave notices and then maybe cancel the notices and pause the rent increases right now to make sure that you're at least 100% physically occupied, and then later on 100% how it can be economically occupied as well. At least at this point right now, if you can make this 100% thing, James, right, both physically and economically, you can weather the storm for the 3 to 6 months and come back and again go back to your typical asset management strategies to increase the valuation of the property, right? So right now it's more like a fight or flight mode right now. Let's just see making it more smoother for the next 90 days to 120 days is the strategy here.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, rather than pushing for rents, try to keep people in the units, right? Whether they're paying or not, right? I guess, right? Because
right, if you renew it, we're gonna not increase the. Let's say if you renew it in April and May, we're not going to do any rent increases, right? For the last thing for you to do is make this unit empty right now, and then we don't know what's the situations of leasing activity in that will be, right? So continue them without rent increases. Just a special that if you renew it in the next 2 months, we will not increase your rent, for example, right? And the things that we discussed already, be sympathetic, and then also profile your tenants, see what jobs they do. Another strategy on this is you don't need to pay April or maybe May, but that rent will be amortized in the next 12 months, right? That's another strategy they're doing. Hey, you're already affected. We're not going to charge you for April or maybe half of the May as well, but that $1,500 will be amortized for the next 12 months.
So you give them a break for 1 month and you take that money and amortize over 12 months, I guess.
Yeah. Just like a forbearance from a mortgage, same thing, right? Like, that is amortized for the next 12 months. Same thing that you can, do here. Okay. But some of these are lease modifications and see how painful it is. But whatever that is kind of, takes it to get this thing done, right? And extending the leases. So one more thing in the leases we can come back to later on is usually when you do a short-term rental, say a 3 months lease or 6 months lease, you have a premium, right? You can actually reduce that premium. No premium for short-term rentals. Say, hey, we're leasing right now. Hey, if you want a 6 months rent, it will be same as a 12 months rent, right? So at least you can fill up your units by doing that.
Yeah, even on a month-to-month, I think they can. Usually we charge premium for month-to-month, but you can either reduce it or don't charge that for now, I guess.
Exactly. So I think maybe for them also, they also wanted to try for month-to-month, few months, and then they can do a annual release after 2 to 3 months, right? So you can at least fill them in, coming in, let them pay, and then you can think about this after 3 months, right? The same topic we discussed before is to go to a local. Even though there are jobs lost, some are trying to hire. Amazon is hiring for the warehouses, grocery chains, hospitals. Some are they're not able to have enough staff, right? So you can find these in your market, in your submarket, and see and take those information and then send it to your people who actually came. Hey, I lost my job. Hey, why don't you try to go to Amazon warehouse 5 miles from here? They're actually hiring, right?
Yeah.
That you can help to see if they can come back to the employment, at least for temporary, for the 90 days until this thing comes back. And because a lot of these people furloughed right now, just because they can get unemployment benefits. But if they can get some other job for the next 90 days, or because what if this delays more, they can get some job for the next 6 months and come back to the workforce later.
Got it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is, it's something similar, is a lot of charities and churches, and they pay the rent. And if they're part of the local church or a charity program, now there are so many people paying rent and also their utility payments
to help our residents. And one good resource that you guys can use, all the listeners can use, is finehelp.org. Finehelp.org that has all the compilation of all the organization which is helping people in terms of money, housing, all kind of things there. So use that resource.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and again, like, this is the first step, right? So whatever that's happening for us or for them, the message has to tenants is the rent is due. Just because, we have to have utility payments, we have to have mortgage payments, we have to pay salaries for employees. This is a laser thin business, right? This is not, we're making 50% as profits here, right? So we had to send that message properly that we also have expenses. We cannot just not forego this thing, not paying rent. That's a message. I don't know what I might not be putting it in the right way here, but you had to, doing that. No, this is not like, because some of these, articles in some of these markets saying, hey, don't pay rent for 3 months, right? So it's just showing a wrong message that they're not thinking about the operators.
Yeah. The government or our mortgage providers did not give us a break on our mortgage, right? So rent is still due. We do sympathize with all the residents. Let's work out some plan. But rent is rent, and it's still
right.
still need to be paid in some way, right? So
right.
So we have to figure that out and see.
Right, and then so another thing is, if you're doing renovations, if you have draw request, it's already completed, immediately do the draw request, because there might be some delays. Right now, because of this, the inspector might not come in to verify the renovations that you did to approve the draw request. Like, submit your draw request as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that your money, you had to pay your vendors, right?
So this is the capital or replacement reserve, right? What we're talking about here, right? So.
Exactly. So you renovated, like, say 5-10 units, and you maybe, like, usually bridge loans, other loans which we have escrow money, right? Get the draw request and then get the money at least, and then you can pause, right?
Yeah.
The idea here is to
keep the cash.
finish what you did till now, get the money, pay your vendors, and pause your renovations for some time until this is, like, done.
Got it.
Right. And another aspect is utilities, right? Because now everybody's at home, right? So they're going to use all the utilities to the maximum: the water, the electricity, the heaters, the air conditions, the internet. Every utility company is right now maxed, right?
Yes, correct.
To the capacity. So just keep it in the utilities and see, how things are going on that. If you're all bills paid, or you're doing a RUPS program, do you need to increase the RUPS? Like, whatever it is, right? Just keep an eye on it. It'll definitely be a much higher.
I think because everybody's staying at home right now, right? In the 1 or 2 months, when the utility bill hits to everyone, it's going to be much higher. And now I appreciate why all this, when people go to work, somebody else is paying for their utilities when they're at work, right? So now operators do feel the heavy load here, but it is what it is, right? So, but just be aware on the utilities, I guess.
And also the load on this, right? If you're continuously using something, like your HVACs might be broken, right? Or your water, like something, there are issues. So you need to make sure that you do the regular maintenance of this stuff, and then make sure you have ducks in row. Like, hey, we're talking to the water company, talking to your plumber, talking to your electrician or HVAC company, making sure they're ready. If there are any service requests, this comes in, right? Because if there is a HVAC broken or some water broken, last thing is, like, the tenants are not happy, right?
Correct.
So I think we discussed it, the month-to-month high-risk tenants, rental increases on this, right? So and just as pausing all upgrades and the distribution side. Another thing is, we talked about lenders, talked about the tenants, we need to now think about the investors, right? If you're syndicating this deal, or if you have a private money that you raised, or whatever that you have investors in your deal, make sure that you inform them about what's going on and how your assets are performing, and what are the things that you are doing as an operator to get this thing. Some of the strategies are what your strategies that you're already employing to get this to weather this storm. And maybe there are some not great topics that you need to you need uncomfortable things that you need to talk to them. Say there might be some pause on distributions, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's going on here, right? We need to preserve the cash, preserve our reserves right now. What if this goes beyond 90 days, right?
Yeah.
So maybe pause or reduce your distributions, or pause it for now, and then you can catch back once everything kind of settles down. That's another conversations you should have.
Make sure, just a caution to everyone who's listening, make sure that any operators are communicating to the passive investors more frequently than what they used to. So if it's very important right now. Just because everyone knows COVID-19 is happening, the whole country is in a lockdown, doesn't mean that you can't communicate, right? So make sure communicate all your plans and what are you doing to your passive investors.
Right. I think we kind of came through these repayment reserves items. So we need to make sure that your R&M, repairs and maintenance, so make sure that now is the time you have a pause, right? So you can actually flag, kind of have all your depreciated items, right? Like have HVACs. These are the things. Make sure that you have R&M done properly, right? And also, again, the same thing like lease audit, full lease audit to categorize your employers so that the tenants are at risk or not, right?
Yeah. Lease audit is you can do a general lease audit as well, because most of the time right now our offices are closed for public, right? Most of the apartment office. So in my company, most of my staffs are doing lease audit, right? Just as part of the normal thing, but to keep them busy as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the right time, right? Everybody, every time we are running, now this is the best time to profile your tenants, lease audit, and make sure that what strategies that you can employ to make them in place, right?
Correct.
And again, the same thing as utility, like just how you can do savings of the utilities, right? Is there any water leak that are happening, right? Let's see your old bills in the last 6 months or 1 year. See any patterns that you can do, that you can identify, or any other measures that you can save utilities. Because the utilities will be stressed in the next few months. And again, from expenses side, completely renegotiating all your contracts and every vendor. Go through every vendor, every insurance, everything that you spend. Your controllable expenses, like non-controllable property taxes, like mortgage, you cannot do anything. Maybe yes, if you can refinance now, if you have ability, you can do that if the rates are low. But if the controllable expenses, you have to negotiate everything, right? Your pool vendor, hey, pause for a few months, or maybe renegotiate the contracts. Go through every line expenses that you have and try to renegotiate these things. There are even companies, it seems, which can do like this. That can help you go through all your bills and then find that anything that you can renegotiate the contract.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
So another thing is noise notices, because now everybody's home. There will be a lot of complaints. Hey, like my my neighbor is creating a lot of noise. Make sure that you again send it across back to the tenant notification saying the after 9 o'clock is a quiet time for whatever it is, like in the night. Any other notices that you want to do, the courtesy notices that you need to make sure that everybody's people working from home, whatever it is. And again, so a lot of people kind of shying away on the Section 8 vouchers. Maybe this is a time to think about, rethink.
It's the best time to get Section 8 vouchers, right? Because that's guaranteed income for now.
Exactly. So if your property is already approved and you have few tenants, Section 8, now go to your city and say, hey, do you want any more? We have vacancies right now. Hey, absolutely, we have so many people looking at it, and you already approved as Section 8 for your property. Let them send your way, right?
Yeah.
And you can fill up easily, and these are at least for the next 1 to 2 years. It'll be like a standard And then not all Section 8 is bad. You need to just make sure that
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
you need to profile the tenant properly and then get it.
Yeah, and I also heard that the government provided a lot more funding for housing people, so there could be a lot more Section 8 vouchers coming in, and
Exactly.
that's what you're saying. They're not bad people, right? I mean, there are definitely a lot of good people there. You just have to make sure that you screen them properly and make sure you get the good ones.
Yes, I think we kind of briefly touched base on these two about the CARES Act and all the forgivable loans, other loans, and then property managers can use some of these loans, and each LLC that you own asset can use this. Check with your lending terms to see what if it's not violating any terms. And there are a couple of things I got it from I think a CBRE webinar. They have make sure that you have fire protections and the building equipment and backups and mission critical operations that you have. These are kind of into the back end of it, right? Like that we already usually ignore. So make sure that all the buildings are inspected properly for the fire inspection, because now that everybody is at home, there are higher chances of some of the stuff, the equipment breakdown might happen. Do you have your backups of emergency? Right, and then any mission critical operations like your cooling, or heating, or water, anything, you have redundancy on these things. Make sure that you're from a building physical aspects of your building, right? Make sure that you do those. And then if you don't have credit card payments for rent payments, make sure that you enable them, and also inform tenants that you can pay rent through credit card, or maybe in that you can actually give back that money for the transaction fees. Let's say they're usually in a credit card payment, there's a 2.5% transaction fee, right? Hey, if you can use credit card. If you use credit card, let us know. You can refund you the transaction fee.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good thing that we are happy because we moved all to online payment for the past 1 year. So now it's so much easier doing this kind of things, right?
Right. Especially if you're not yet on the credit card payment option, make sure that you talk to your property management software and enable that. And then also inform them, hey, like you already have ACH, but you have an option to pay through credit card, right? So that's another thing. And also, another incentive is I think Neil was using is, if you can give some credit, if they pay the rent for 5th of the month, or if you pay April and May upfront now you'll get $100 off or $150 off. Right, give them incentive to pay for the next 2 to 3 months upfront, so that if somebody has that capability to do it now, they can use of the program and they can get a credit for that. And make sure, again, this one is, I think, should be the first top. If you're working with a tenant, either a late payment waiver or a credit or a lease modification or any other that you're working with them, make sure that they show the letter that they lost their job, right? Otherwise, people will make use of these features that you're actually giving, and yeah, so that's primary data. And then a couple of things we already talked about: the short-term rent leases and renegotiating the contracts. Another one is primarily the model unit. Like, now that nobody's coming in and seeing the units, maybe you can lease your model unit as a furnished apartment for short-term. Right? This is Ellie Perlman's idea, and other ideas, lease the traveling nurses, because right now with the COVID, a lot of these hospitals are actually getting healthcare professionals from outside, from other towns and other places, and they're hiring more people as a temporary staff. But these traveling nurses and healthcare professionals need to have some place to stay. You can go. I had to find this link, James. I'll talk to Ellie and then send it to you as well later on. You can put it into your notes.
So, is this a link for traveling nurses?
Yeah, there is a way to find out these people.
Really? Interesting.
You can, and then post your apartments there. Hey, if your apartment is like say 5 to 10 miles from a hospital, major hospital, and you can actually use these resources to actually post, hey, we have available short-term rentals, maybe furnished or not, or maybe semi-furnished. We can give you this for the next 90 days to 120 days.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. Yeah, that's very interesting.
That's another way to actually fill in units.
Yeah. That's awesome. That looks like we went through the list. So let me add one more thing, which I just remembered, right? If you have never done a virtual 3D tour of your units, you want to prepare right now. There's a lot of photographers out there. They can do a virtual 3D tour of the units. And right now, that's very useful because right now we can't use our leasing agents to go and tour the units. Now we just tell them to go themselves or drive around or look at the pictures or look at the videos, right? But if they have a really nice virtual 3D pictures, that'll be a really good way to attract leases to you.
And you have Rently has this self-touring technology. You can put these webcams. Yeah. So if you're using Rently, or it's also Rently is also an app into existing property management. So you can put the webcams there. You don't need to be your leasing staff is not exposed. So they can come in 24/7. You'll send them the lock code. They'll open the unit and they see, and you can monitor from your leasing office or your wherever desk you are, and then do that. Rently has that.
Got it. Yeah, I did look at that as well. So that's awesome, Rama. Thanks for sharing this. Is there anything else you want to mention to the audience and listeners?
Yeah, I think I think we have some light at the end of the tunnel. The government is helping us. Hopefully, I think this will pass and we'll come back stronger and then stay safe.
Yeah. Multifamily is still one of the best asset class to invest in because there's so much help we are getting from all our different sources. Imagine if you are in office or warehouse or industrial or everything is closed down, right? So or hotels, right now, things are doing really, really bad in that asset classes. But shelter is part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Food, shelter, and safety, right? So absolutely everybody needs housing to stay on and live on, right? So thanks for coming in, and hopefully we can add this as soon as possible. And that's it. Thank you very much, Rama.
Yeah, thank you, James.
That's it for this episode. If you'd like to learn even more, check out James's free audiobook. It's the audio version of his best-selling book on passive investing. You can get the audiobook completely free, along with other valuable resources, by visiting www.achieveinvestmentgroup.com/free audiobook. Also, be sure to join our Facebook group too. To find it, just do a Facebook search for Multifamily Investors Group. Thanks for listening. Join us again for another episode next week. See you then.